on the cloud. So, Lynette, your question about ISBNs. So usually when you go publish a book, they stamp your barcode like on the bottom right of, this is the right, on the back bottom right of the book. This is just the standard way. Here's another one. That's just the norm. But if you want the barcode elsewhere, then you would purchase it from Bowker. So for example, we published this chapbook. This is a very small pocket-sized chapbook. And it's about 20 pages of poetry. We published this book, and the author expressed that he didn't want the barcode in the standard area. So we put it here on the neck of the person. Right? So as long as the barcode is scannable, you could put it anywhere. And if that's your desire to put it anywhere other than the bottom right of the book, then you would purchase that. Okay. This is Soledad, which this is the UK cover of Soledad by Angie Cruz, and her barcode is in the center, right? Along with her image. So very different. You never see the author's image on the bottom right of a book. You probably see it bigger on the back, or you probably see it inside with the author's bio, but this is the UK version. And, so here it says, John Murray, which I believe is the publisher in the UK, because it says original book since 1768, and it has the barcode, and then it has the pricing on the bottom right. So Mariela, I see you have a question, but I didn't understand what estivares means. Do you know, are you there, Mariela? Do you know estivares for how much they charge? Is it like per page, or should I look for someone that gives a total for everything? Are you referring, I guess Mariela is not there, but I guess she's referring for illustrators.
Sorry, yeah, no, I was talking to myself because I'm mute. But yeah, when you guys were talking about illustrators, I was like wondering, like, when you make a deal with one of them, like, is it better to be like, okay, I have a children's book, I need like 12 graphics for like these pages, or is it like, you know how like you give a lawyer a retainer? So it's like, do you give them a retainer where it's like, yo, it's this amount, and like you just draw like what I need for the book? Like, what would you suggest is like the best way?
Well, the majority of illustrators work per project, and they will not do a retainer for you unless you're giving them tons of money, because they also have other projects.
Okay.
And depending on how time consuming your project is, they take it or leave it. So I say start with one book, tell them this is what I'm working on. Break down the book by page number and include the text that you want on that page, and give a description of what you want the illustrations to look like on that page.
Okay, I can do that. Because like, for example, for my Refranes book, I had somebody who did the cover, right? And then I was like, oh, like, she did the cover. She did like 3 different versions of the cover to see like which one I like better, like front and back and stuff. And then I hit her up and I was like, oh, like I want to do like some comics for like a couple of the refranes, like, tu ta fea pa la foto, right? And then she like never replied. She like low key like ghosted me. And so now I'm like, do I find someone else to do the comics, or do I try to do it myself? Because, Canva has comics now too. Or I'm like, or do I just find somebody? Like, do I start with a brand new cover and comics, or do I keep her cover and get someone else for the comics? So like, that's where I'm at with that. Or do I try doing it myself?
So I would try to be consistent with the artwork. If you hire someone different for the interior of the book, is your people are going to be able to tell that it's not the same as the book cover designer. But that's your choice. In regards to comics, we have tons of people that could do comics for you in DR that we could connect you with. I wouldn't go the Canva route because Canva, everyone uses it. And there are times that you go on social media and you're like, I saw that on Canva.
Oh, like you start noticing, like you see the same shit over and over again.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So I could definitely connect you to some people. If you go on Cultura Comics Instagram account, they refer comic book artists all the time. And if you want something real simple, I could also refer you to the people at Moto Studio NDR, and they also help you with comics.
It's called Moto Studio is the other one?
Okay. Like un moro, que tú te vas a comer un moro. Moto Studio. It's like a green, it has like a green logo type thing. So you could hit them up, tell them I referred you. The director's called Leo. Yeah, and tell him what you need. And he's, he'll reply to you.
So just checking, Angie, when you say like, you need like, okay, for example, this is a children's book, right? But this one has a lot of writing on this page with just one illustration. But if you go to like, say the next page, so you would tell them, I want writing here, but then a big illustration, then like, I want, so, okay.
You need to be very specific, yes. And if you have samples like that one, then you would send them pictures,
Okay.
right? Like you would take pictures of that and say, this is the type of stuff that I'm looking for. Like that is what age? That's elementary school? Well, I think that's kids who already started reading chapter books, right? So maybe.
Yeah, this should be like 3rd, 4th grade, I think.
Yeah. So yes, you need to be very specific. You break the text down by on page, whatever, this is the text that goes here. And then you could just say, place image at the here, whatever. You need to let them know what size your book is because they need to design the images around your book size as well.
Okay. And also, I went over some of the stuff that you sent, and I had a similar question as I forgot who asked about like the list of illustrators that you have, and if it gets, I guess it's part of the looking up process. So I saw some people that I went to fashion industries, and originally I went in for an art major, and I know a couple of people that were on that list, and I was like, oh, they do book illustrations. So I only know them for paintings. But I have someone else in mind just because I know a lot of people in the art sphere. But so is it the same for agents and everyone else on that list? Like we'll have to do our own kind of research, or you guys know like exactly their type of.
What do you mean? If you want to pitch to an agent, what the process is?
Yeah, like you've worked with those people before, like.
So we have worked with agents before. When we did our Dominican Writers Conference, we booked tons of agents to come in and review manuscripts for the writers that were at the conference. And a lot of them, I know of their work, but here's the thing. When you're doing your research, you need to find agents that have published books like the one you're writing. Okay? If you're writing a Dominican book, look up those agents that publish Dominican books. Who is Dominicana's publisher? Who's the literary agent for Julia Alvarez, for all these Dominican books that we're reading? Because then you know that those literary agents understand our work, right? You want to find literary agents who are going to be your cheerleaders, even though that's their job anyway. But the likelihood that they will accept your manuscript is higher if they have published Dominican authors, if they have helped Dominican authors publish before, or Latino authors. So that's part of your research. Look up agents that have published books like yours with content similar to yours. And those are the first people that you want to pitch to. Okay, you never want to just randomly say, oh, this person publishes picture books or whatever, but your book has a very Latino content, and then they just come back to you and say, what is this? Yo no entiendo. Like they come back and say, I don't know what to do with this book, or I don't even know how to market this book, or how to even edit this book, because they don't understand the nuances, the Latino nuances in your book. And you need a literary agent that understands them, even if they're white. There are allies out there. For example, Dominicana's literary agent is Carolyn Bleak, and she is a white woman, but Carolyn is very in tune with our Latino books, right? So you have to go, if you don't have a Twitter account, I suggest you go open one, search hashtags for literary agents and publishers and editors. They're all on Twitter. They're all talking about the type of work that they want. They go on there and they say, I'm open for submissions, send me what you have, and they post this on Twitter. There are also like pitch competitions that they do throughout the year, and they post them on Twitter as well. So Twitter is your friend. Go on Twitter. You don't need to post, but follow these people and watch what they're doing, what they're sharing, what they're asking for, because they are posting it there before anywhere else. Okay. Also know that you going for a literary agent is a very time-consuming process. Some people find a literary agent within months. Some people take years to find literary agents. Okay, I don't want you to say, oh my God, nobody likes my book. It's going to happen. It's going to be rejected. People are going to like it. Some people are going to love it. But if your goal is to find a literary agent, then stick to it. If you have a limit of time, if you say, I'm just going to dedicate 2 years to search for a literary agent, and after 2 years, if I don't find one, then I'm going to self-publish, then so be it. But don't let the process deter you from finding one. Okay, because more and more Latinos are being published. And if your book, holds weight and is well written, and you believe in the work that you've done, then go for it. Definitely go for it. But I do suggest that, when you some of these agents will ask you, like, what is your marketing strategy, because they have no clue. So they're wondering what you think. Like I've had friends of mine that have pitched literary agents, and the literary agent has asked them, what is your marketing strategy? So they come back to me and they share like a Google Doc, and they're like, Angie, what would be, because I tell people, mention Dominican writers. If you're Dominican and you've never done marketing and promotion or whatnot, mention us. We are a platform with like 22,000 followers. We do the marketing and promotion for authors. We don't charge you for it yet. But do mention us and say, I have the backing of this organization. And if you need that writing from us, that language, email us and let us know, because we would do it. We would include that for you in your proposal or query letter. Okay, we've done it before for authors. And I never want a literary agent to turn you away because they have no idea on how to market your book. And it's okay that you don't know, because that's the publisher's job. But publishers are doing less and less of marketing and promotion. They're now depending on third party, like or our organizations or bookstagrammers or other platforms to do that work for them. Okay.
Angie, I have another question. You know how Oscar Wilde has like a weird, is that it? Am I confusing the book with Junot Diaz?
That's Junot's book.
Yeah, but you see how it has like this weird of like historical background of Dominican Republic mixed with like this weird puberty aspect of it, and then it also gets into this like weird fantasy realm. Or like, I have this book, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but damn, I just take the covers off of the books when they're like, but it's called God of Jades and Shadows. So it's like a a Mexican writer, and she writes about like the 1920s Mexico mixed with like Mayan and like all of this
Yeah,
like weird
that's
fantasy stuff.
fantasy. Mhm.
Yeah, but it also shows all the like the racism that was happening and all this stuff in the 1920s. So it's like a mix of like even the belief system of like Catholicism and all this stuff. So how do you pitch something like that that becomes so like intertwined with genres, but then it is also very Latino or a person of color book?
Um, I don't have the answer to that, but I would research how do you pitch a fantasy novel. And look up, you know, how did Juno do it? I'm pretty sure there's some videos out there where he's talking about it. He has a bunch of New York Times articles that he wrote. And that wasn't like the only fantasy novel that he wrote. He wrote quite about two more, I think, that he published on the New Yorker or the New York Times. And again, writing workshops, Mari. They're gonna give you the ins and out on how to pitch these books. And it also depends on what genre is it. Is this a YA book? Is this an adult novel? Right? So yeah, I could definitely look into that and share places where you should be looking into that.
Angie, if I can share also, Mari, have you heard of Reina Grande?
Is that a book?
No, it's an author. Yeah, it's
Author?
an author. Her name is Reina Grande, and she has a book coming out called A Ballad of Love and Glory. And it's sort of like a fantasy novel because she writes about like this Mexican woman who lives like on the border of El Rio Grande, like during like the Mexican American War. And she talks about like the things that you mentioned, like the racism, like between like los gringos and then like the indigenous people and stuff like that. Go on her Instagram because she has a bunch of online events because she's promoting the book. But one of the things that she says is that she read like close to 50 books, like researching stuff, because she's building this fantasy world, right? So she wanted to make sure, like, for example, she said that like during that time, like cactus wasn't growing. It's like she had to find out, well, what was like the shrubbery or like the plants and like, you know, what color was the dirt at that time. So she talks a lot about like the research and like how do you put together a timeline for when you're writing that kind of book. And then like she wanted to know like, well, what are the birds that are in the sky and what, tú sabes, like todo eso detallito. And she talks about like how do you do research when you're creating that type of world, like creating a timeline for like the world that you're writing in, you know. But yeah, it's called A Ballad of Love and Glory, and it's Reina Grande is her name.
Thank you. And you know, I thought of that before, just because even in those historical fantasy books, they always tell you, and even if you're going to go back into the history of like whatever country you're from, like you have to know like the haircuts that they were using, the way that they were dressing and all this stuff, just to make it a bit more accurate. And also Latin America got a lot of political issues, and throughout every like 5 years there's something different happening, so you got to make sure you're on point with the historical stuff on that. And campos are different from cities, so I've been doing my research on that, but thank you, because like I have, but that I'm gonna look her up.
And I remember in one of the Dominican writers events, Nelly Rosario said that when she wrote Songs of the Water Saints, that she had put that like the train was like in DR, and like when somebody read it, they were like, there was no train in DR at that point. Like it was a trolley, like there was no train built at that time. And it was like, oh shit. You know. So yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
All right, guys, let's start today's workshop. We did 30 minutes of Q&A. Let's get into this. Okay. Which one should I, oh, right here. Can you see can you all see the presentation? Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
So today we're going to speak about preparing your manuscript for publishing. Oh, where are we? Okay, choosing your book size. As you're writing your manuscript, you should keep in mind that you need to choose a book size. You need to format your Word document to this book size. And I say this because your words are going to fit differently. If you start off with an 8.5 by 11 manuscript, and that's not the size that you're going to publish your book, it's going to look very different once you format it. The text is going to move, it's going to fit in a different way on the page, and you need to start off with the book size that you really, really want. So books come in all shapes and sizes. A book size varies on the individual book. Publishers determine these sizes on the economical, practical, and artistic factors. As you self-publish, think about the book you want to put out to the world. Is it a chapbook, a coffee table book, or a children's book, a novel? Your choice of book size will affect how you arrange the text in your manuscript, but also your audience reading experience and your potential profit margin. What is a trim size? A trim size is essentially the term for a book size. After each copy is printed and bound, the book is mechanically trimmed so that the size of every page is uniform. The trim size relates to these dimensions in width and height format. The importance of the trim size comes down to three things: reading experience, marketability, and cost. The smaller the trim size, the more pages will be required for your book. For example, if your book is 1,000 pages and you're trying to fit it into a trim size like this, that means that that book is going to be extra thick, right? Because look how many words are probably fitting here in this trim size, right? The trim size affects cost and pricing. Another important reason to care about your choice of trim size is that it can affect your printing costs. Since print-on-demand presses charge you based on page count, and page count depends on trim size, your book size could possess a knock-on effect on your profit margin. What are the industry terms for trim sizes? Standard book sizes can vary depending on your genre. Let's first define some familiar industry terms to give you some context for the numbers coming next. Mass market paperbacks, compact and inexpensively produced. These books called pocket-sized books, such as this one, this chapbook that I showed you, and this book by Angie Cruz are considered pocket books. And they're 4.25 by 6.87. You'll find them on the racks of grocery stores and supermarkets. Trade paperbacks are the better quality books you might pick up in Barnes & Noble's bookstore. Trade paperbacks are probably what you picture when you think of a paperback book. Trade paperback sizes would range anywhere from 5.5 by 8.5, a size that's called a digest, to 6 by 9, also known as the US trade. In today's market, this is the go-to paperback size ranges for many novels, memoirs, and nonfiction books. Hardcover, you'll probably be familiar with these premium formats. These book sizes tend to range from 6 by 9 to 8.5 by 11. On this image, you will see from the left a 5 by 8 book, a 5.5 by 8.5 digest, and a 6 by 9 trade book. What are their standard book sizes in publishing? For your reference, the standard book sizes in inches are, and if you look at the bottom, you'll see what the sizes are for fiction, a novel, a children's book, textbook, nonfiction, memoir, and photography. So, putting it together, print-on-demand presses such as Blurb, KDP, and Ingram Spark will offer you a sheet of trim sizes. Look through them carefully and take into account the different distribution options. Familiarize yourself with the dimensions and offer, and make sure you view a sample chapter to find out what your content will look like on the page. If you want to experiment with book sizes and the way they might impact your typesetting choices, the Read See book editor allows you to do so for free. the editor also provides 4 popular trim sizes for formatting. I am going to stop this here, and I am going to share with you the website on Ingram Spark, just so you have an idea of what these trim sizes look like. So and when researching your so you could just Google trim sizes for the platform that you choose once you choose the platform that you're going to print on. But here you see, so here on Ingram Spark, they give you all the information about the interior of the book, what their end quality is, what paper color and weights is. For example, if you're printing illustrations or photography, you want a specific type of paper weight or color, whether it's premium or 70-pound. You could ask Ingram Spark to send you samples if you so wish. And you'll see that information here. So these are the trim sizes that Ingram Sparks offers. If you're publishing a paperback, you could click on this tab, and here are all the trim sizes that they offer. If it's a hardcover book, these are the only sizes that they publish. Standard book color, here's another list, and premium color, here's another list. How much does it cost to print a book? They have a calculator, okay? So for example, let's say my print size is 4.25 by 7. The interior is color. We're gonna choose premium color. The binding is a paperback. We want a glossy finish. Let's say the book is 180 pages. And let's say I want to publish 100 copies. And then I'll ask you what country you're in, because, you know, it depends on where you want to publish it, where you want to ship it to. Where is it? United States. Am I blind? Oh, because United States is all the way up here. Where it's being shipped to. So let's say I'm in New York, so we're choosing New York. My postal code is 440, and in US dollar, I want a calculation. So you click calculate, and this is what Ingram is telling me, that that size in premium color means that I'm choosing that glossy finish, like magazine type paper for the interior. And it's telling me that per unit, it's going to charge me $13.36. If I want to know how much one book will cost me, and you could calculate that. Let me see. So again, one book is would be $13.63, 180 pages. That's expensive. So when people see these prices, this is when they decide, okay, I can't afford thousands of dollars, you know, to print all these copies. I want 100 copies home. And if you see here, 100 copies at $13 per copy comes out to about $1,300. When you add shipping and handling, it comes out to like $1,500. There's a way for you to avoid having to be the person paying this fee, and we're going to talk about that during the marketing and promotion portion of the workshop. But as you can see, it can be expensive. If I just choose, for example, standard color of paper, and say it's paperback, I don't want a duplex cover, whatever, let's calculate that. It's going to be drastically lower. So now it's telling me one book is going to be $6.11. And that's mostly because of that size. I'm fitting 100 pages in a 4.25 by 7. But if I choose, for example, a 6x9 size, where is it? 6x9 right here. And I calculate, what did I miss? Okay, paperback, interior black and white pages, glossy finish. Okay, this is no interior color, regular white or cream paper. Look at the price now, $3.72. And this is average, because most people who are writing a novel either include white pages or cream color pages in their books. When it comes to children's book, it's definitely going to be different. So a children's book is usually 32 pages, 8.5 by 8.5, which is a square size. We could look that up here. ¿Dónde está eso? Oh, I can't find 8.5. Oh, here it is, 8.5. So let's say interior is color because this is a children's book. We're gonna ask for standard color, 70 pound white paper. It's a hardcover book. I always recommend a hardcover for children's book. Parents love hardcover books. And let's say is a matte outside finish, is 32 pages, and I want to print 100 copies. So we calculate that hardcover is going to be a little bit more expensive. So here you see that a hardcover book with an average and standard page count of 32 pages is going to come out to $7.81. That means that if you're this is the price that you pay for the book, to have it printed. That means if you want to make a profit, your book should be anywhere between $12 to $15, so that you could at least make a $6 profit if you're selling the book yourself. Otherwise, if you're just selling your book online via any online platform like Amazon or whatnot, you're only going to get the royalty fee, right? So that just goes to show you what options you have there. Here you have what a calculator for your compensation, right? So this is for you to have an idea of what your royalties would be if you decide, once you publish your book, right? So again, let's choose a 6x9 book. We could go, let's say it's a fiction book, black and white interior. The binding is paperback, is a matte finish. The page count is $180. I'm going to list the price at $15 retail. And so when it comes here to wholesale discount, this wholesale discount is a discount that you give to bookstores, academic institutions, libraries or whatnot. And the wholesale percentage is usually anywhere between 35 to 55%. We always do 55%. The higher the discount, the more copies they buy. And here we see that Ingram would charge me $3.80 to publish one copy of the book, and my royalty fee would be $2.95 based on the information that I shared here. Right, so this is part of your research when you're looking for publishing platform, and most publishing platforms are going to have calculators like these. We're going to get a little bit more into it when we get into the researching of publishing platforms. So here we also have we went through the shipping calculator, and Ingram also have a cover template that you would need to download. Let's go back to the lesson. So here we have, I just walked you through the Ingram Spark section, but this is for Amazon KDP versus Ingram Spark. These numbers are not set in stone. Ingram and Amazon increase and decrease their prices all the time. So again, do your research. So putting it together, you're thinking, what's next? You know, print on demand presses such as Blurb, KDP, and Ingram Spark will offer you a sheet of trim sizes. Look through them carefully and take into account the different distribution options. Familiarize yourself with the dimensions they offer, and make sure you view a sample of the chapter to find out what your content will look like on the page. So I already mentioned the Reedsy book editor. Anyone have questions on this section? Okay, so the book layout, design, or typesetting is the art of creating a book's interior. It involves all the decisions that influence the way readers experience the content of your printed book, from the fonts to the spacing to the styling of the chapter headings to the margins, etc. Platforms like Ingram Spark, Blurb, Apple Pages, Storyist, and Scrivener have their own book designing tools that you can use. Some people also take the time to learn Adobe InDesign, or they jump on Fiverr and hire a freelancer to lay out the interior of their book. What you choose depends solely on your needs, your resources, and time. Here we have different formatting and layout for books. Talk to your editor while you're editing your book about ways to format your book. As you read books like the one you wish to publish, you will also see a standard way of doing so. Here are some pages you commonly find in books: the title page, the copyright page, the table of contents, a forward, a chapter, page number, and author's bio. So these are examples of what these pages look like. Do your research, look at all the books that you read, see how their copyright page is put together. Does it have a table of contents? What does it look like? Does it have a forward? Does it include the author's bio? Research how all that looks. When I was self-publishing my book, I bought everyone's book, poetry book, who I knew. And my research was, how was their book put together? Aside from their content, I wanted to know, should I include a table of contents? Yes, I wanted to include a table of contents because I found that helpful. Did it include my bio? How did the title page look like? Did it have a forward? A lot of poetry books don't have forward, but I wanted mine to include one because it defined what my book was going to be about. So those are all things for you to research. As I was telling Mari, look at the books that you want to write and see how those books are put together, because you basically already have an outline within these books. So researching the publishing platform. Think about, where do you want to publish? Here are the top 3 self-publishing platforms. Visit each website and read everything. Most of these websites have frequently asked questions. You can chat with them online as well. Okay, so if you go to Amazon KDP, if you go to Blurb, if you go to Ingram Spark, most of these websites have a frequently asked questions. Ingram has a blog, Ingram has a podcast, Ingram has courses, free trainings that they offer on their website, videos that you could watch on how to do certain things with your book. YouTube University is your friend as well. If you want to compare one publishing platform to another, you will find that on YouTube. All right. Create a pros and cons list of these publishing platforms. What do you like about one website? What do you like about the other website? I will tell you that Ingram Spark is not user-friendly at all, but it is the #1 place where you should be publishing your book. And it's mainly because Ingram was created by a publisher in the Big 5, and they ask you questions that the majority of platforms will not ask you regarding your book, regarding the information of your book that gets fed to these third-party platforms that will be selling your book. Their distribution is amazing around the world. They distribute to Japan, Canada, The Caribbean is always left out because the Caribbean doesn't include a structure for distribution of books. But you have the United States, you have India. You could find all this information on these websites. Look up what their distribution looks like. This is very important for you, especially if you want your book to get into as many hands as possible. If you don't care about distribution, then choose any website you want, okay? But if you want your book to be sold in bookstores, if you want universities to pick up your book, if you want academic institutions or other organizations or foundations or private companies to pick up your book, Ingram would be your #1 choice. They include your book in catalogs. They let booksellers know that your book is available for purchase. They allow you to put your book up on pre-order on these third-party websites. Ingram feeds your book to Bookshop. If you don't know what Bookshop is, please go look it up. Bookshop was created during COVID to allow bookstores and other book retailers who didn't have an online retail system to create lists of books and sell them via Bookshop. So you want your book on Bookshop. Tons of people have created lists of books on Bookshop. We have a list as well. And it's extremely helpful if your book is listed there, because the more eyes on your book, the more likely someone will find it interesting and purchase it. Okay, so the cost to self-publish a book varies depending on your budget, the type of book you like to print, and ultimately your publishing goals. For example, a fiction paperback book is not going to cost you as much as a children's book that has full page spread of illustrations. Children's book can cost you anywhere from $2,500, $3,000, $5,000, all depends on what you would like to include in the book. Whereas a paperback book, a novel, doesn't include illustration, it's just text. So it's never going to cost you as much as a children's book. Okay, when you're publishing a children's book, you need to pay for the illustrator, you need to pay for the layout and design of the book. You don't necessarily need to do that for a fiction paperback. You could learn that to do yourself. But for a children's book, you need to find someone who's going to put that text on the illustrations in a very professional manner. So though you need to do your research, create a budget. What are you willing to spend? You know, save up your money, or as many people do who publish children's book, you could create a Kickstarter account. And I'm going to show you an example of a Kickstarter account right here. So this is Where is Abuela's Prenda? It was published by Rachel Armstrong last summer. Rachel created a Kickstarter account to raise money for her book because her illustrations were costly. And Rachel dedicated her time to creating this campaign. If you're going to do a Kickstarter campaign, do know that this is a very time-consuming process and you need to be on top of it. Do not put your focus on anything else but raising funds with this campaign, because the minute you not post this campaign or the minute you're not talking about it, people forget about it and they do not donate. You need to focus on the campaign, and I'm going to show you how Rachel did that. So this is her campaign. Her goal was to raise $6,000. She ended up raising $7,373. Rachel did this within a couple of weeks. Rachel had never published a book before. She is a school teacher. She has no experience in marketing and promotion, but she did her research on how these campaigns work. She likely went on Kickstarter and looked up other book campaigns to see how people were doing it and followed suit. So the more information you include about your book, the more likely people are to donate to have your book, especially if they connect with your book. So this book, Where is Abuela's Prenda, is an 8.5 matte hardcover book. Here she tells you what the book is about. She tells you what the plan with the book is. She says, cross my fingers and hope that we get enough backers to have this labor of love self-published. Make uncomfortable conversations with your children comfortable. Along with Where's Abuela's Prenda, Little Big Moments was created to alleviate the difficulty in conversations children and parents may encounter that impact their development. Dealing with things like grief, divorce, sickness, etc. are big topics that little children may not fully understand or know how to process. As parents, we do our best to communicate and support our children with their internal struggles that may never really have the direct answer. Here, she's grabbing the parent. These are not very common topics in children's books, especially Latino books. So this is the topic that she chose about her book. Here, she shows you who she is. She is a mother of 3 boys. Here, she tells you about her illustrator. And she shows you samples of the illustrations included in her book. This is very important because if you're fundraising, a big chunk of your money is going towards the illustrator. So we want to know that your illustrations are professionally done. I have seen people do Kickstarter campaigns and the illustrations look like they're drawn by an 8-year-old. And then I'm like, so what are you raising money for? Because it seems that it's not for the illustrator, because you would have hired a professional illustrator and paid them with the money you're fundraising to make this book look more professional. And some people don't. That keeps me from donating to any campaign. I will scrutinize the hell out of your campaign if you ever share it with me. Just know that. Okay, I have had people that tell me, hey, can you share our Kickstarter? And when I look at it, I'm like, this is just, and some people don't want to take advice either. I've had writers like that. I had writers who are so in love with their bad illustrations that they keep it, then they don't raise the money, and then they're like, oh my God, I don't know what happened, what's going on. And then I tell them it's because your illustrations cannot compete with the illustrations that are being done out there by professional publishers. Here, Rachel goes into the rewards, what you get for making a donation. You will see that on the right-hand side. If you pledge $10, you get an ebook option. If you pledge 20, you get 1 hardcover book, a downloadable activity sheet, and 1 book sticker. And she goes on depending on the amount that you pledge. And you could very well copy the same outline for your Kickstarter. Just make sure that these are things that you could fulfill. Okay, here she tells you where her money is going. Everybody wants to know where their money is going. I certainly do if I'm donating to your campaign. So here she tells you that, because like I showed you earlier, printing a children's book and a hardcover book is very expensive. So here she tells you that 55% of the money raised will go to the printing. 25% is going to go to her illustrator. 10% is going to go into packaging. So when it comes to packaging, this is optional. What Rachel did was that she purchased boxes and she packed your boxes, very lovely packaging with confetti paper. She included the book, she included stickers, she included little wooden spoons. Very cute packaging. She tells you that Kickstarter charges 70% fees. So she took that into account. And then she said, everything else, for example, if she was paying someone for the layout, if she was purchasing the ISBN, all those other miscellaneous costs she's also reimbursing herself through the campaign. And here you see a lot of other graphics, what her future plans are for her book, what her ultimate goals are if she reaches, $12,000 or whatnot. She tells you why she created a Kickstarter. She tells you, follow me on social media and see what else we're doing with our books, right? So if we go here, let me see. I will show you Rachel's. I will show you what her page looked like. This is the Little Big Moments page that she created for the book. This is a very clear example of what you should be doing when you create a Kickstarter campaign. She created a separate social media page for it, and everything posted here was related to her book. Here she talks about the main character of the book. She worked diligently with her illustrator to create all these designs so that she could raise the funds for her book. Here she tells you, you know, we appreciate you, what to expect in the upcoming posts. She shows you illustrations of how the character came about. The character is based on her son. Here she did a video, meet the author. Everybody wants to know who's behind the book. So she did tons of research. This is a lot of work and very time consuming. Meet the illustrator. Here's a video of the illustrator. So the point is for you to engage with the community and get them so involved with the project that they feel like they're part of it too, and they run and donate. So here's the main character of the book. It's based on her son. He's a live person, and her son was all into helping her promote this book. And it's the cutest little thing. He comes to the event with her. He helps her sell the books, and it's adorable. Here you have more pictures. She included more illustrations. That was the book cover, how the book cover came about. She gives everyone a behind the scenes of how this book was put together. This is her grandparents right here. The book is based on her abuela, right? So this is a perfect guide and outline on how you should be running a Kickstarter campaign. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. So back to choosing your self-publishing options. We have Ingram Spark, which, like I was saying, is the largest book distributor in the US. It is where bookstores, libraries, and other book vendors purchase books in bulk for a wholesale price. There's Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, or KDP is Amazon's self-publishing platform that allows authors to create ebooks and paperbacks only. They're now starting to do hardcover books. I think is in the beta stage. And this is all without any upfront costs or inventory orders. A lot of people go to Amazon first. Just to let you know that if your main goal is to get your book into as many hands as possible, especially bookstores, you should not be publishing your book on Amazon. Bookstores do not want to go to Amazon and give them more money to buy your book. They avoid it. So your best bet is Ingram. You let them know that your book is on Ingram. They go onto the Ingram website and they purchase your book in bulk. If your book is published on Amazon, most bookstores would tell you, okay, I will buy 5 copies, but I will buy it directly from you, the author. Whereas if your book were on Ingram, they would probably buy their book at larger quantities. You do not want to have a bookstore say, we're only going to buy 5 copies from you. Okay, now Amazon is great for ebooks as opposed to Ingram Sparks. Okay, so that I highly recommend. Our ebook is on Amazon and KDP, but we do not publish any of our books on Amazon. You should do your research as well. How do bookstores feel about Amazon? Amazon is pretty much taking them out of the market, but recently I read in the news that they're closing their bookstores, which is wonderful, and I loved it. They're closing their bookstores. Let independent bookstores continue to reign. We also have lulu.com. Lulu prints books, ebooks, photo books, calendars, comic books, and magazines. We have Blurb, which is great for photo books, trade books, magazines, ebooks, children's book, graphic novels. Blurb will distribute your book via its website. They have a storefront like Amazon does. They will distribute your book on Ingram, Amazon, Apple Store, and will also work with a Kickstarter campaign if you have one. Some book formats tend to be pricey. To cover these expenses, you can create a fundraising campaign to fund the printing of your book. Then you have other sites like Archway Publishing, Outskirts, Blue Sketch, and yeah, the Blue Sketch Press. So I'm going to, let me show you what lulu.com looks like. This is lulu.com, okay? Again, it is your responsibility to do a pros and cons and compare pricing within these platforms, okay? Lulu will publish, print, and sell your books globally with their print-on-demand network while eliminating the risk and hassle of inventory and fulfillment. Here you have small trainings on printing or publishing your book, learn how to publish, sell direct with e-commerce, shop their store for books. They have guides and templates as well, and they also have a pricing calculator on their homepage where you should start doing your research. And then here you have the bookstore. Again, go on YouTube, find out what people are saying about Lulu. So here you could go into book pricing and you will see what people are publishing here. So if you ever want to publish a yearbook, a magazine, a calendar, a comic book, a photo book, Lulu is great for these things. Ingram is not great for magazines. Is not going to publish a calendar if you have one. Is not great for comic books. So sorry about that. So these are the formats that Lulu is great for. Again, doing your research is extremely important. Because these formats are not very common, they might be pricey. Okay, again, this is all according to your budget. If you want to do a Kickstarter campaign to publish your work, Lulu helps you out through that process. Then we have blurb.com. Did I write it correctly? No. Okay, Blurb has these software that you could use to put your book together. They also have they tell you what their distribution option is here, what formats they offer, print as you go and whatnot. I think, and they also help with Kickstarter as well. So here, the type of books that they help you publish are photo books, right? Trade books, magazines, ebooks, and they tell you what size they help you publish. Blurb can be very expensive. And I believe they charge you for every single, they charge you for every single thing that you want done with your book. Let's see. So you could play around with this stuff and figure out what is going to work best for you. Someone have a question?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
it's not to do with this, but just the Rachel Armstrong's book. If you go to her Kickstarter, that's it. She ended her campaign. You just have to purchase the book at this point.
Yes, her book is everywhere.
Okay, just checking.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
have never heard of as that. I don't work in the schools. I work in a court, so I don't see much of these children's books.
So part of your responsibility as a writer and someone who wants to publish a book is to follow authors online. Start creating a community, because this community is going to be the person who donates to your campaign, who buys your books, who shares your book, who cheers your book on. You need to start creating a community of other writers and authors. You need to start engaging with them on social media, get yourself to be known, and it's going to help you tremendously with your book. You don't need to have tons of followers, but you do need to have, but it is very important for you to start creating a community among people like you who are writing, who are interested in the content that you're sharing, etc. So like Mari, if you want to write fantasy, you should be following fantasy authors. Follow Latino fantasy authors. Look up writing workshops on social media, hashtags. Follow these organizations that offer writing workshops. Anyone that is helping with branding and marketing. All this information is on social media. And often people will give you services for free just because they've seen you around and they like what you're sharing. So
I'm gonna have to get social media then. All I have is WhatsApp para la familia.
oh, mi amor, WhatsApp no te va a llevarte a ningún lado.
Definitely not.
So here we have, print on demand services do just what the term suggests. Each book is printed only when ordered. This just-in-time distribution system saves the author from keeping expensive inventory, storing stock against future orders, fulfilling orders as they come. As we go along and we get into the marketing and promotion, we're going to talk about putting your book on pre-order and how to avoid having inventory in your home, because being stuck with inventory is just too much. When a reader orders a copy of your book from the sales outlet serviced by either of them, the KDP Print Amazon stores worldwide, and from Ingram Spark bricks and mortar bookstores and libraries, they fund the production, build a customer, take their cut for production and distribution, and then they pay you the rest. Each platform offers unique benefits. It is your responsibility to do your research. Why bother with print books anyway? There are tons of people who just want to say, I just want to go the ebook route. So the majority of indie authors make most of their money from ebooks and a growing amount from audiobooks, the ratio depending on the genre. Print generally has a much narrower potential for profit than ebooks per unit, because the cost and effort of physical production and fulfillment is much higher for a print book than it is for a digital file. To make the most of the intellectual property of your book, though, it makes sense to publish it in as many formats as possible, including print. Using print on demand publishing process through KDP Print and Ingram Spark provides a relatively cheap and easy way to produce a print book, and it delivers it to readers who choose that format. Neither requires you to invest in stock holding or warehousing, which means it's also more affordable and flexible. If you find an error after selling your first few copies, or if you want to update your manuscript each time you bring out a new book, you can without having to scrap any existing stock. So if you're selling a book, what does this mean? If you publish your book in hardcover, make sure that a few months down the line, you publish your book in paperback. This is what publishers do. If you haven't noticed, they publish a book in hardcover first, and then maybe a year later, they'll publish the book in paperback. But from the initial publishing, they also have the book available in ebook format, because tons of people read ebooks and tons of people are listening to audios. So those are the top 3 formats book readers are using to publish their books. Ingram Spark is part of the Ingram Content Group. which has a distribution network that reaches beyond the internet into physical bookstores, academic institutions, and libraries. These outlets are unlikely to order stock from Amazon because most bookstores see Amazon as competition, and the trade discounts Amazon offers to them are not commercially viable. Like KDP Print, Ingram Sparks provide a print-on-demand service, but unlike KDP, it does not supply directly to the end user, i.e. the reader. Instead, it sends its catalog to the book distributors and wholesalers from whom retailers, libraries, and academic institutions order books. If you publish your book with Ingram Spark, a bookseller or library's purchasing department can now order it. Most such buyers prefer to order their books direct from wholesalers or distributors with a single invoice and delivery for their daily order than to incur further administration for less reward by dealing directly with publishers or authors. So this video, I will send you this video in my email because I have to end this class in about 10 minutes, but this video is on how does Ingram Spark work? How do I get my book out to retailers and whatnot? And you'll be able to watch that on your free time. Another difference from KDP system is that the Ingram Spark dashboard asks you to specify whether you will accept returns. This is because the bookstore ecosystems allows booksellers to return a certain quantity of its book orders unsold to a distributor for full credit. For example, most bookstores will start with an order of about 20 copies of your book or more if they feel that the content of your book is super marketable and people will gravitate to it and want to read it. But if it turns out that they only sell 10 copies of those 20 copies that they initially order, they want the option of being able to return those copies to the publisher and get their money back. So always mark your book for return. Ingram will ask you if you want to get the books that are returned, they will ship it to you. But if they ship it to you, they will deduct this from your royalties. Or you could tell them, burn the books that are returned, or I don't want them. And they'll figure out how to get rid of those books. But then it doesn't, that means if people buy it, they will deduct the royalty fees for the returned books, if you understand what I'm saying. Meaning, because they pay you your royalties, but then in the reports that they send you monthly reports of your book sales. They would tell you this bookstore or whatnot returned 10 copies of your book, so we're gonna take back the money that we already paid you or that they deducted. I will give you an example of what those reports look like. There is an argument that agreeing to returns, which means you pay for the return book and the cost of shipping, but in most cases you don't actually get the physical book back yourself. They're generally pulled with increase of the chance of making a sale, but it also means you carry all the risk. Supposing a great piece of publicity encourages hundreds of bookstores to order thousands of your books and they don't sell. Although rare, such incidents have caused small publishing houses to go bankrupt. Only offer returns if you are comfortable with the risk. Another difference is that whereas it is free to upload a book to KDP Print's dashboard, with Ingram Spark, you must pay a setup fee, which is currently $49 per book. And each time you upload a revised cover or content, a revision fee of $25. This is to protect the integrity of its catalog and to guard against abuse. KDP has no charges for when you upload a book whatsoever. When you publish a paperback with Ingram Spark, it goes into their master distribution network that reaches out beyond the internet to bricks and mortar bookstores and libraries. These are unlikely to order stock from Amazon because most bookstores see them as a competition. Terms are not as favorable. It creates too much paperwork to be worthwhile. They prefer to consolidate all their orders with one or two regular distributors or wholesalers. Other reasons to use Ingram Spark services include a more flexible range of print choices, including better quality paper, the option to produce hardbacks and large print, and a personalization service. So I am going to stop it here, and next week we're going to start with the ebook. So Mari had a comment that it is amazing. I want to write about topics like that for children, but was told that's a bad idea because children cannot understand. What? Who told you this, Mari?
I'm not gonna say who, but the thing is, I work in the social work field and like court systems, so I wanted to like write about this in a way that children can understand what the heck is going on, because they are perceptive, they know what's going on. But then I was told, like, you can't write books like that, it's not going to sell in a school. Like, I can understand that, but like,
Those are haters.
yeah, like if you're even going to therapy or something and you leave your child in the waiting room, I don't know, something like that, maybe that would be a perfect thing for your kid to pick up to understand what the heck is going on. Also, mental health is like on the rise now, not only because of everything that's going on, but people are aware of it, so people are talking about it, and this is perfect to get. Like, I think kids are taking yoga now in like kindergarten.
Yes. Yeah, don't listen to the haters. There's
will
plenty of books out there that touch on emotional development of children. Just do your research. They're out there. There's books that touch on grief. There are books that touch on, diversity, on mental health. There are books written on autism, on how to talk to other kids, on these mental health issues. So definitely not. We need these books out there. Write the book that you don't see out in the world. But do your research. That's my main keyword, research. So, okay, everyone, I have to moderate a workshop at 1 p.m., but I will send you more information in our summary email for today's workshop. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I strongly advise you that you join the group. I sent a link for the group on the website. I have shared resources on that website. So if you didn't join the group, you're missing out on what I'm sharing. I'm trying to minimize the emails and just have you guys talk within each other about these things, because you might have questions that everyone else has, but if you don't voice them, you can't help one another. So I want this to be sort of like an intimate community where we're sharing information and helping one another. So yeah, have a great Saturday. Stay out of this, whatever that is out there. Okay.
Thanks, Angie.
And
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.